There's a common charge leveled against the Buddha, that he was a pessimist. People often hear a simplified version of the first noble truth, life is suffering, and conclude that Buddhism is a grim, world-denying philosophy focused on negativity. But this is a profound misunderstanding. The Buddha wasn't a pessimist. He was a radical realist. He didn't just diagnose the dis-ease of the human condition. He offered the cure. And the key to that cure lies in a concept that, at first glance, can sound even more negative than suffering. That concept is emptiness. But what if this emptiness isn't a void? What if it isn't a bleak nothingness, but is actually the very key to freedom, compassion, and a deeply interconnected life? So what exactly is this emptiness that sits at the heart of Buddhist wisdom? It's arguably one of the most profound and most frequently misunderstood ideas in all of Eastern philosophy. To explore it, we have to understand that different traditions within Buddhism approach it with a slightly different lens. In the early Pali scriptures of the Theravada school, the term is suññatā. In the later Sanskrit texts of the Mahayana schools, like Zen and Tibetan Buddhism, the term is śūnyatā. They are the same word in two different classical languages, but the scope of their application differs in subtle but significant ways. Today, we're going to embark on a deep dive into this transformative teaching. We'll first explore the practical, psychological focus of emptiness in the Theravada tradition. Then, we'll see how the Mahayana tradition expanded that understanding into a sweeping vision of reality itself. This is a journey from not-self to interbeing. To understand emptiness, we'll start where the Buddha himself started, with the perspective preserved in the earliest texts of the Theravada tradition. The Theravada lens, emptiness as a practical tool. In this view, suññatā, or emptiness, is primarily a tool for personal liberation. Its main purpose is to help us realize one of the three fundamental marks of existence, anattā, or not self. The early texts are very specific. They don't just say, everything is empty. They ask, what is empty? The answer is the five aggregates, the components that make up what we call a person, our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental habits, and our consciousness. And what are they empty of? This is the crucial point. They are empty of a permanent, stable, independent self or soul that is in charge. They are not empty of existence. They are empty of an owner. There is a brilliant illustration of this in a classic text, The Questions of King Milinda. The sage Nagasena asks the king to identify his chariot. He asks, is the axle the chariot? Are the wheels the chariot? The frame? The reins? The king says no to each question. Nagasena then points out that chariot is simply a convenient name we give to a collection of parts when they are assembled in a certain way. It has no separate, independent essence of chariotness apart from its components. So it is, Nagasena explains, with a person. The word me, or I, is just a convenient label for the ever-changing flow of body and mind. There is no permanent driver in the machine. To see this emptiness of self is to stop clinging to the aggregates, and that letting go is the path to liberation, to nibbana. The Mahayana lens, emptiness as the nature of reality. Now, several centuries later, the great thinkers of the Mahayana schools took this powerful insight and expanded its scope dramatically. They applied the same logic of the chariot not just to the person, but to all phenomena. Not just the components of a being, but the chair you're sitting on, the air you're breathing, the thoughts you're thinking, all of it. In this view, all things are śūnyatā. And what are they empty of? They are empty of what is called svabhava, a separate, independent, intrinsic existence. The classic analogy here is that of a wave and the ocean. A wave has a clear identity. We can see it, point to it, describe its shape and size. But can we separate the wave from the ocean? Is there any part of the wave that is not the ocean? The wave is a temporary manifestation of the ocean, brought into being by wind, gravity, and countless other conditions. It is empty of being a separate wave. Its entire reality is its interconnectedness with everything else. This vision of universal emptiness reveals a universe of radical interdependence. The modern Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, coined the beautiful term Interbeing to describe this. Looking at a sheet of paper, we can see the cloud, the rain, the forest, the logger, the sun, everything that was needed for the paper to exist. And here, the Mahayana draws a profound connection. If nothing and no one has a separate self, then the boundary between me and you becomes fundamentally porous. Your suffering is not separate from my suffering. This deep insight into emptiness, śūnyatā, is seen as the very foundation of boundless compassion and the bodhisattva ideal, the vow to liberate all beings. This is profound philosophy, but how does it actually help us navigate our busy, often stressful, modern lives? The practical application of emptiness is where this teaching reveals its true power. The Theravada lens, with its focus on not-self, offers us freedom from the burden of ego. Think about how much energy we spend defending, promoting, and worrying about ourself. We are attached to our opinions, our reputation, our story. When we begin to see this self, not as a solid thing, but as an ever-changing process, like the chariot, it loosens its grip. An insult has no solid place to land. A failure is an event, not a verdict on me. This insight creates a psychological space, a flexibility that allows us to meet the world with less fear and more resilience. The Mahayana lens, with its vision of interbeing, offers us freedom from the illusion of separation. This is a powerful antidote to the tribalism, polarization, and alienation so common in our world. If everything is empty of a separate existence, if we are all interconnected like the wave and the ocean, then the idea of a detached us versus a separate them begins to dissolve. This is the foundation for a profound social and ecological ethic. The suffering of another is not truly separate from our own. The health of the planet is not separate from our own health. This vision naturally gives rise to compassion and a sense of radical responsibility. To get a felt sense of this, you don't need to read 1,000 pages of philosophy. You can try this simple reflection right now. Let's call it looking for the hand. Hold up one of your hands and look at it. First, ask yourself, where is the hand? Is it the skin, the bones, the muscles, the blood? If you could remove each component, one by one, at what exact point would it stop being a hand? Like the chariot, you will find that hand is a concept we apply to a collection of parts. Now, consider everything that allows this hand to exist right now. Think of the sun, the rain, and the earth that grew the food that gives it energy. Think of your parents and all the generations that came before them. Think of the oxygen you are breathing, produced by trees. You will quickly find that the entire universe is present in and necessary for the existence of your hand. It has no separate, independent existence. It is both empty of a solid self and full of the entire cosmos. So, we return to where we began. Emptiness is not a bleak, nihilistic void. It is the very opposite. It is the dynamic, open, and luminous nature of reality that allows for change, connection, and freedom. Whether we see it as a practical tool to deconstruct the ego, or as a sweeping vision of cosmic interdependence, the destination is the same: less clinging, less suffering, and a more compassionate and engaged way of living. The Buddha was not a pessimist. He was the ultimate realist who saw that the key to being free from suffering was to be free of a solid self. In that freedom, we don't find nothingness. We find everything. This is a deep topic. What part of this explanation resonated most with you? The chariot, the wave, or the idea of interbeing? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If this exploration was helpful, please like this video and subscribe to the Mindful Compass. Thank you for exploring this with me. May you find the freedom that comes from holding yourself lightly, and the compassion that comes from seeing yourself in everything.